I should have known something was wrong when my mother complimented my dress. "Sydney, darling, you look lovely today," she said, not even looking up from her phone as I walked into the private dining room at the country club. "That shade of blue really brings out your eyes." My name is Sydney Warren, and in 28 years, I could count on one hand the number of times my mother had noticed what I was wearing. The fact that she'd bothered to comment meant she wanted something. "Thanks, Mom." I slid into the chair across from her, scanning the table. 3 place settings, but only 2 of us here. "Where's Dad?" "He'll be along shortly. He's bringing some paperwork for you to look at." She finally glanced up, her smile perfectly practiced. "Nothing too complicated, just a family investment opportunity." The waiter appeared with mimosas I hadn't ordered. I took a sip and waited. In the Warren family, information came in carefully measured doses, usually right before you were expected to do something you wouldn't want to do if you knew the whole story. "Sydney!" My father's voice boomed across the dining room as he strode in, briefcase in hand. "There's my responsible girl." I winced. That phrase had followed me my entire life. While my older brother Landon got called charming and spirited, I was always responsible. It sounded like a compliment until you realized it meant useful and forgettable. Dad kissed the top of my head and settled into his chair. "Beautiful day, isn't it? Perfect for celebrating some good news." "What good news? Your brother's really turned things around," Mom said, her face lighting up in a way it never did when she talked about me. "He's been sober for 3 months now, and he's got some wonderful business ideas." I bit back my first response. Landon had been turning things around every few months for the past decade. The last time he'd had wonderful business ideas, Dad had to pay off his gambling debts and the investors he'd screwed over. "That's great," I said instead. "Where is he?" "He'll be here soon. He's actually looking at a property right now." Dad opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "Which brings us to why we wanted to talk to you. Here it comes. We've found an incredible investment opportunity, a beachfront property in Malibu. The kind of place that appreciates in value every year, plus it's got rental potential." "Sounds expensive." "It is, but that's where you come in." Dad slid the folder across the table. "We need someone with excellent credit to help us secure the financing, someone responsible." There it was again. I opened the folder and started scanning the documents. Purchase agreement, loan applications, insurance forms. The numbers made my eyes water. "This is a $12 million house." "Investment property," Mom corrected. "And it's a steal at that price. The previous owner was desperate to sell. Why do you need me for the financing? You have excellent credit." Dad and Mom exchanged a look. "Well, we're already leveraged on some other projects," Dad said. "And frankly, this is a great opportunity for you to build some real wealth. Consider it an early inheritance." I kept reading. The more I saw, the more my stomach churned. "Dad, this puts me on the hook for the entire mortgage. If something goes wrong, nothing's going to go wrong," he said firmly. "This is a sure thing, and Landon's going to be managing the property, so you won't have to worry about any of the day-to-day details." Of course, Landon would be managing it. Landon, who'd never successfully managed anything in his life except to charm his way out of consequences. "I need time to think about this." "There's no time," Mom said, her voice getting that edge it always had when I didn't immediately comply. "The seller has other offers. We need to move today." "Today?" "The papers just need your signature," Dad said. Everything else is already arranged. We just need you to trust us. Trust them. The same people who'd forgotten my college graduation because Landon had gotten arrested that weekend. The same people who'd asked me to co-sign his car loan, then acted surprised when I had to make the payments after he defaulted. I don't know. Sydney. Dad's voice took on that disappointed tone that had trained me to comply since childhood. This is about family, about building something together. I thought you'd want to be part of that. The guilt hit exactly where it was supposed to. I looked at the papers again, then at my parents' expectant faces. Okay, I heard myself say. I'll sign. Dad beamed. That's my responsible girl. As I signed document after document, my hand moving automatically while my brain screamed warnings, I noticed a young woman at a nearby table watching us. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. When we finished, Dad gathered the papers with obvious relief. Excellent. We'll get these filed today, and you'll have the keys by next week. The keys? Well, you're the owner on paper, Mom said casually. For tax purposes. The woman from the nearby table walked past us on her way out. As she did, she dropped her napkin near my chair. When I bent to pick it up, I saw writing on it. You should really read what you're signing. I looked up, but she was already gone. The napkin sat on my kitchen counter for 2 days before I worked up the courage to call the number written on it. Warren and Associates, this is Blair. Hi, this might sound weird, but did you drop a napkin at the Hillcrest Country Club on Sunday? Silence. Then, can you meet me at the Starbucks on Melrose in an hour? Blair turned out to be the young woman I'd noticed at the restaurant. Mid-20s, professional but nervous, with the kind of careful posture that screamed, I work for lawyers. I'm a paralegal at your father's firm, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. I processed your paperwork. Okay. Look, I could get fired for this, but I couldn't just watch it happen. She pulled out a tablet and opened a file. Do you understand what you signed? A mortgage application for an investment property. No. She turned the screen toward me. You signed a deed. You own that house. Completely. Your name is the only one on the title. My coffee suddenly tasted like acid. That's not possible. My parents said. Your parents lied. Blair scrolled through the documents. Look at this. You're not just the owner. You're personally liable for everything. The mortgage, the property taxes, any lawsuits, any damages. If someone slips and falls on that property, they're coming after you. But it's a family investment. There is no family investment. Your brother's name isn't on anything. Neither are your parents. It's all you. The room started spinning. Why would they do this? Because your brother's credit is destroyed, and your parents are already overextended. They needed someone clean to take the risk. Blair's voice was gentle but firm. They used you. I stared at the documents on her screen. $12 million of debt in my name. What happens if I can't pay? Foreclosure, bankruptcy, your credit destroyed for the next decade. She paused. But here's the thing they don't know. What? Since you're the legal owner, you have all the rights that come with ownership. You can sell it, rent it, or... She smiled slightly. Do whatever you want with it. They'd never let me. They can't stop you. Legally, it's your property. I felt something shift inside me, like a lock clicking open. Are you sure about this? Positive. I've been doing real estate law for 5 years. Blair closed the tablet. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Text from Mom. Landon's moving into the house this weekend. Can you help with the furniture delivery? I showed Blair the message. She raised an eyebrow. They're not wasting any time. I need to think about this. Don't think too long. Once he's established residency, it gets more complicated. That evening, I called my cousin Alea. She was the only family member who'd ever treated me like a person instead of a tool. Sydney, how are you? I heard about the big house purchase. You heard about it? Mom mentioned it. Said Uncle William was bragging about Landon's new place. Alea's voice dropped. Between you and me, I was surprised they could afford something like that right now. What do you mean? Well, don't repeat this, but Mom said they've been struggling since that development deal fell through last year. Uncle William had to take out some pretty hefty loans. My stomach dropped further. How hefty? I don't know the details, but Mom seemed worried. She said something about them needing a financial miracle. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment staring at the city lights. A financial miracle, that's what I was to them. Not a daughter, not a person with her own dreams and goals. Just a credit score and a clean financial record they could exploit. My phone rang. Dad. Sydney, sweetheart, how are you feeling about the investment? Fine, I guess. Good, good. Listen, we're having a little housewarming party next weekend. Nothing fancy, just some friends and potential business partners. We'd love for you to be there. Of course. Wonderful. And Sydney, this is really important for Landon's future, for all our futures. I hope you understand how much this means to the family. I understand perfectly. That's my responsible girl. Oh, and one more thing. Try not to make it about yourself at the party, okay? This is Landon's moment to shine. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, Dad's words echoing in my head. Don't make it about yourself, at a party for a house that was legally mine. I called Blair back. It's Sydney. That thing you said about me having all the rights of ownership? Yes? I want to know exactly what that means. Every single right I have. Now we're talking, Blair said. When can you meet? The house was even more stunning than the photos. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Pacific, and the infinity pool seemed to blend right into the horizon. I stood on the deck, watching caterers set up for the party, and tried to wrap my head around the fact that I owned all of this. Sydney! Mom appeared beside me, resplendent in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. There you are. Come, I want you to meet some people. She led me to a group of men in expensive suits clustered around the outdoor bar. Gentlemen, this is my daughter Sydney. Sydney, these are some of your father's business associates. A tall man with silver hair extended his hand. Trey Powell. Your father's told me so much about you. All good things, I hope. He says you're the responsible one in the family. Trey's smile was patronizing. That's refreshing. We need more young people who understand the value of hard work. Speaking of hard work, another man chimed in. This place must have taken some serious effort to acquire. Your brother's a lucky guy. Very lucky, I agreed. Trey's been thinking about bringing some young talent into his investment firm, Mom said, her voice bright with false enthusiasm. Maybe you two should talk. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the market, Trey said, though I imagine most of this is over your head. Finance can be complicated for someone without experience. I'm sure it can be. Mom beamed like I'd just performed a trick. Sydney's always been so modest. Now, if you'll excuse us, I think the speeches are about to start. She pulled me away toward the main deck, where Dad was tapping a champagne flute with a knife. Friends, family, distinguished guests. Dad's voice boomed across the crowd. Thank you all for joining us today to celebrate not just this beautiful home, but the bright future it represents. The crowd applauded politely. I spotted Landon near the pool, looking tan and relaxed in a white linen shirt, surrounded by his usual crew of enablers. As many of you know, my son Landon has been through some challenges, Dad continued, but he's proven that with determination and family support, anyone can turn their life around. More applause. Landon raised his glass with a modest smile that made my jaw clench. This house represents more than just an investment. It represents legacy. It represents the Warren family's commitment to building something lasting, something meaningful. Dad's voice swelled with pride. And I couldn't be more proud to see Landon taking the reins of his future. The crowd erupted in applause. Several people clapped Landon on the back as he made his way to the front. Thank you, Dad. Thank you all for being here. Landon's voice carried that easy charm that had gotten him out of trouble his whole life. I know I haven't always made the best choices. I've let people down, including my family. Murmurs of sympathy from the crowd. I wanted to vomit, but standing here today, in this incredible place, surrounded by people who believe in second chances. He paused, letting emotion creep into his voice. I promise you, I won't waste this opportunity. This is my chance to prove that I can be the man my father raised me to be. The applause was thunderous. Women dabbed their eyes. Men nodded approvingly. Even the caterers had stopped working to listen. To family, Landon raised his glass. To second chances. And to the future. To the future! The crowd echoed. I lifted my glass with everyone else, but the champagne tasted like poison. Around me, people were already talking about what a transformation this was, how mature Landon seemed, how proud his parents must be. Quite a speech, a voice said behind me. I turned to find a woman about my age with short dark hair and intelligent eyes. I'm sorry, do we know each other? Taya, I went to USC with you. Different majors, but we had that economics class together senior year. Taya? God, I barely recognized you. What are you doing here? I work in property development now. Your father invited some people from the industry. She glanced around the crowd. Hell of a place. Must have cost a fortune. So I'm told. Your brother seems to have landed on his feet. He always does. Taya studied my face. You don't sound thrilled about it. Before I could answer, a commotion near the house caught my attention. A delivery truck had pulled up, and workers were unloading boxes marked Landon Warren, bedroom. Looks like he's moving in fast, Taya observed. Very fast. Well, I should go mingle. But hey, we should catch up sometime. I'd love to hear what you're up to these days. She handed me her business card. Call me. As the party wound down, I found myself helping clean up. Old habits. While the caterers handled the dishes, I collected abandoned champagne glasses from around the deck. That's when I saw it. A stack of mail had been left on the outdoor dining table, probably brought out by mistake. Most of it was addressed to Landon Warren at this address, but one envelope caught my eye. Sydney Warren, legal owner. I glanced around. Everyone was busy with cleanup or saying goodbye. I slipped the envelope into my purse. "Sydney." Dad appeared at my elbow. "There you are. Wasn't that wonderful? Landon really knocked it out of the park with that speech." "He certainly did." This is exactly what he needed. A fresh start, a chance to build something real. Dad's eyes were bright with satisfaction. "I think this house is going to change everything for him." "I think you're right," I said. "I think it's going to change everything." The envelope contained a property tax bill for $47,000, due in 30 days. I stared at the number until my eyes watered, then called Blair. "Can you meet me tonight? It's urgent." We met at a 24-hour diner in Hollywood. Blair took one look at the tax bill and whistled low. "They didn't mention this part, did they?" $47,000. That's more than I make in a year. And it's just the beginning. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities if he's living there full-time. Blair pulled out her tablet. "I did some research after our last meeting. Want to know what else you're on the hook for?" "Do I have a choice?" "Homeowners Association fees, $1,500 a month. Insurance, $3,200 a month because it's waterfront. If there's a mudslide, earthquake, or fire damage, that's all on you too." My hands started shaking. "How much total?" "Conservatively, about $8,000 a month in carrying costs, not including the mortgage payment." "The mortgage payment is $12,000 a month." "So, $20,000 a month, minimum. $240,000 a year." Blair's voice was gentle but relentless. "Can you afford that?" "You know I can't." "Then we need to talk about your options." She opened a new file on her tablet. Option 1. You could try to transfer ownership back to your parents, but that would require their cooperation and cost about $50,000 in transfer fees and taxes. They'd never agree to that. They need me to be the owner. Option 2. You could sell the house. As the legal owner, you have that right, but your family would probably fight you in court, and that could take years. What's option 3? Blair smiled. Option 3 is more creative. You could change the use of the property, donate it to a charity, lease it to a nonprofit, turn it into something your family definitely didn't plan for. Like what? Well, what cause do you care about? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Alea. "Sydney, thank God you picked up. Are you okay?" "Why wouldn't I be okay?" "Mom just called. She's worried about Uncle William. Apparently some investors are asking questions about his finances." "What kind of questions?" "The kind that happen when you owe people money and can't pay them back." Alea's voice dropped. "Sydney, how much do you know about this house situation?" "More than I want to." "Can we meet? I think there's stuff you need to know." An hour later, Alea slid into the booth across from Blair and me. She looked around nervously before speaking. "Okay, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but Uncle William is in serious trouble. That development deal that fell through. He'd already spent the investor money." "How much money?" $8 million. Blair and I exchanged glances. "Jesus," Blair muttered. "It gets worse. He's been using new investments to pay back old ones. Classic Ponzi scheme territory." Alea pulled out her phone and showed us a text. "This is from my mom an hour ago." The text read, "William's meeting with lawyers tomorrow. Something about asset protection. Pray for us." "Asset protection," Blair repeated. "That means they're trying to hide money and property before creditors can seize it." "The house," I said. "Exactly. If it's in your name, They think it's safe from their creditors. Blair's fingers flew across her tablet. But here's what they don't understand. If you're the legal owner, you can do whatever you want with it. Alea looked confused. Wait, what do you mean Sydney's the legal owner? I explained the whole situation. By the end, Alea's face was pale. They used you. They actually used you as a human shield for their debts. That's exactly what they did, Blair confirmed. So what are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hi, Sydney. This is Gianna Jenkins from the LA Times. I'm working on a story about questionable real estate deals in Malibu. Would you be available for a comment about the Warren property purchase? I showed the text to Blair and Alea. Blair's eyes lit up. This is perfect. The media's already sniffing around. Perfect for what? For your revenge. Blair leaned forward. Think about it. Your family humiliated you, used you, put you at financial risk for their own benefit, and they're planning to use that house as collateral for more schemes. So you take it away from them, publicly, in a way that exposes exactly what they did. Alea was staring at me. You're actually considering this. I'm considering not letting them destroy my life to save their own. What would you do with the house? Blair pulled up a website on her tablet. There are organizations that help victims of financial abuse, people who've been exploited by family members, romantic partners, business associates. They need safe spaces, legal resources, counseling services. You want me to turn it into a shelter? I want you to turn it into a statement. Imagine the headlines. Malibu Mansion becomes haven for financial abuse victims. Your family's dream house becomes a monument to everything they did wrong. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Dad. Sydney, we need to talk. Some people are asking questions about the house. Don't talk to any reporters until we figure this out. Too late for that, I thought. How long would it take to set something like this up? I asked Blair. If we move fast, 2 weeks, maybe less. And they couldn't stop me. Not legally. You're the owner. I looked at both of them, then at the tax bill still sitting on the table. $47,000 I didn't have, for a house I never wanted, to protect people who'd never protected me. Let's do it. The next morning, I called Taya. Sydney, I was hoping you'd reach out. How's life in the real estate empire? Complicated. Are you free for coffee? I have a business proposition. We met at a cafe in Santa Monica. Taya listened without interrupting as I explained the situation, the deception, the debt, my plan for the house. Holy shit, she said when I finished. Your family really screwed you over. That's one way to put it. And you want to turn their dream house into a non-profit center? Is it even possible? Taya pulled out her laptop. Let me make some calls. I know people who specialize in this kind of conversion. She started typing. What's your timeline? Fast. My dad's having another investor meeting at the house next weekend. I want everything in place by then. That's tight, but doable. She looked up from her screen. You realize this is going to destroy your relationship with your family? They destroyed it first. Fair point. Taya's phone rang. This is Dr. Martinez from the Financial Abuse Recovery Foundation. I sent her your information. I took the phone. Dr. Martinez? Sydney, Taya's told me about your situation. What you're proposing could help a lot of people. How quickly could we make it happen? If you're serious about donating the property, we could have a lease agreement ready by tomorrow. The paperwork for the non-profit designation takes longer, but we can operate under our existing umbrella initially. What would you need from me? A signed lease agreement giving us operational control of the property. We'd handle insurance, utilities, staffing, everything. You'd retain ownership, but we'd manage it as a recovery center. And the costs. We're grant-funded. This wouldn't cost you anything beyond the property taxes, which we can help you apply for non-profit exemptions on. After I hung up, Taya was grinning. You're really doing this. I'm really doing this. What about your brother? He's living there. That's Blair's department. Blair met us at her office that afternoon with a stack of legal documents. Eviction notice, she said, sliding the first paper across her desk. Since Landon never signed a lease and isn't on the deed, he's legally a trespasser. You can give him 30 days to vacate. He'll fight it. Let him. You have all the legal rights here. Blair opened another file. I also drafted the lease agreement with Dr. Martinez's foundation. Once you sign this, they take operational control. What about my parents? What about them? They have no legal standing. The property is yours. I signed the eviction notice first, then the lease agreement. Each signature felt like a small act of rebellion. When do we serve the eviction notice? I asked. I can have a process server deliver it tomorrow, Blair said. But you might want to tell your family first. Give them a chance to react privately before it becomes public. No, they didn't give me that courtesy. My phone buzzed. Text from Mom. Landon's having a few friends over tonight. Nothing big. Thanks for letting him settle in. Actually, I said to Blair, I have a better idea. That evening, I drove to the house. Cars lined the circular driveway, expensive ones. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see at least 30 people inside. I rang the doorbell. Landon answered, drink in hand, music and laughter spilling out behind him. Sydney, what are you doing here? I live here. He laughed. Very funny. Come in, have a drink. Brendan's here, and some people from the old crowd. I stepped inside. The house was full of people I recognized from Landon's previous fresh starts. The same enablers who'd helped him burn through opportunities before. Actually, I need to talk to you privately. Can it wait? We're kind of in the middle of something. No, it can't wait. Landon's smile faltered. He led me to the kitchen, away from the party noise. What's going on? You seem tense. I pulled the eviction notice from my purse. You need to be out of this house in 30 days. He stared at the paper like it was written in a foreign language. What is this? It's an eviction notice. You're trespassing on my property. Your property? Sydney, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that my name is on the deed. This is my house, not yours. Landon's face went through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, then anger. This is some kind of joke. Read the notice. He scanned the document, his face getting redder. You can't do this. Dad will never let you. Dad doesn't have a choice. Neither do you. Sydney, come on. We're family. This is my fresh start, remember? My chance to prove myself. Your fresh start is built on my credit and my financial liability. Did you know I owe $47,000 in property taxes next month? That's not my problem. Exactly. It's mine. So I'm solving it. Landon crumpled the notice. I'm not leaving. Then you'll be forcibly removed by the sheriff's department. We'll see about that. He pulled out his phone. Dad? Yeah, we have a problem. Sydney's lost her mind. I could hear Dad's voice through the phone, getting louder and angrier as Landon explained the situation. "He wants to talk to you," Landon said, holding out the phone. "Tell him he can call me tomorrow. I'm busy tonight." "Busy with what?" I smiled. "Planning your going-away party. The process server would arrive in the morning. The lease agreement with the Recovery Foundation would be filed by noon. And by next weekend, when Dad held his big investor meeting, there would be a very different kind of sign on the front lawn." 30 days, Landon. I'd start packing if I were you. The calls started at 6 a.m. First Mom. "Sydney, what have you done? Your father is beside himself." Then Dad. "This is unacceptable. We need to meet immediately." Then Landon. "You're destroying everything. How can you be so selfish?" I let them all go to voicemail. By noon, Blair texted me. "Lease agreement filed. Foundation takes operational control Monday. You're officially no longer liable for day-to-day costs." The relief was immediate. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without calculating mortgage payments. My phone rang again. This time I answered. "Sydney?" It was Alea. "Are you okay? Uncle William called my mom screaming about lawyers and lawsuits." "I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." "What's happening? Mom said something about you evicting Landon." "I'm turning the house into a recovery center for victims of financial abuse." Silence. Then, "Holy shit! You're actually doing it!" "I'm actually doing it. Uncle William is threatening to disown you." "He can't disown someone who was never really part of the family to begin with." "Sydney." "Alea, they used me. They put $12 million of debt in my name to protect themselves from their creditors. They were going to let me go bankrupt to save their own asses." "I know. And I'm proud of you for fighting back." That afternoon, I drove to the house to check on the preparations. Dr. Martinez's team was already there, measuring rooms and discussing renovations. The infinity pool would become a meditation garden. The master suite would house counseling offices. The great room would be a meeting space for support groups. "This is going to be beautiful," Dr. Martinez said, showing me the plans. "We can help about 50 people at a time here." "When do you officially take over?" "Monday morning. We'll have staff here by 8 a.m. "What about the sign?" She smiled. "Installation crew arrives at 7 a.m., right before your father's meeting." I'd timed it perfectly. Dad's investor presentation was scheduled for 9 a.m. He'd been bragging about it all week. His big chance to secure funding for his next development project, using the Malibu house as collateral. Saturday morning, I got a text from Landon. "Last chance to call this off. Dad's bringing lawyers to the meeting tomorrow." I texted back, looking forward to meeting them. Sunday evening, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, waiting for updates from Blair and Dr. Martinez. Everything was in place, but the reality of what I was about to do was hitting me. At 6:30 a.m., my phone buzzed. Text from Dr. Martinez. "Sign crew here. Installation starting now." At 7:15 a.m. "Sign is up. It's beautiful." At 7:45 a.m., my phone rang. Dad. "Sydney, I'm at the house. What the hell is this sign?" "What does it say?" "Malibu Recovery Center for Victims of Financial Abuse." This is not funny. It's not supposed to be funny. "Take it down, now." "I can't. I don't own the sign. The foundation does." "You own the property." "I own the property. They lease it. Big difference. Sydney, I have investors arriving in an hour. Important people. This will ruin everything." "That's the point." The line went dead. At 8:30 a.m., Alea texted. "Driving by now. There are news vans outside. This is really happening." At 8:45 a.m., Blair called. "The reporter from the LA Times is there. She wants a statement." "Tell her I'll be there in 20 minutes. I drove to the house with my hands shaking. The circular driveway was chaos. News vans, expensive cars belonging to Dad's investors, and a growing crowd of onlookers. The sign dominated the front lawn, a beautiful bronze plaque announcing the Malibu Recovery Center. I parked across the street and walked toward the crowd. Dad was on the front steps, gesticulating wildly at a group of confused-looking men in suits. Mom stood beside him, her face a mask of barely controlled panic. "Sydney!" A woman with a microphone approached me. "Gianna Jenkins, LA Times. Can you comment on the conversion of this property?" "Of course. Is it true you're the legal owner of this $12 million mansion?" "Yes." "And you've donated it to help victims of financial abuse?" "I've leased it to an organization that helps people who've been exploited by family members or business partners, people who trusted the wrong people with their financial security. That's quite a specific mission. What inspired this decision?" Before I could answer, Dad spotted me. His face went purple. "Sydney, get over here right now!" The cameras swung toward him. This was it, the moment I'd been planning for weeks. "Excuse me," I told the reporter. "I think my father wants to discuss our family's commitment to helping abuse victims." I walked toward the house, cameras following. Dad's investors were backing away, clearly uncomfortable with the media attention. Landon stood in the doorway, looking like he wanted to disappear. "What have you done?" Dad hissed when I reached the steps. "I've taken control of my own life." "This is my house." "No," I said, loud enough for the cameras to catch. "It's my house. My name is on the deed. My credit secured the loan. My financial future was put at risk without my knowledge or consent." The investors were whispering among themselves. One of them, a silver-haired man I recognized from previous family events, stepped forward. "William, what is she talking about?" Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "This is a family matter." "A family matter?" I laughed. "You mean the family matter where you put $12 million of debt in my name to hide assets from your creditors?" The whispers got louder. Cameras clicked. Someone in the crowd gasped. "That's not—" Dad started. "It's all documented," I continued. "The deed, the mortgage, the tax liability, all in my name, all without my informed consent." "Sydney, please." Mom stepped forward, her voice pleading. "Please what? Please let you destroy my credit to save yours? Please pretend this is normal family behavior?" Trey, Dad's business associate from the housewarming, pushed through the crowd. "William, is this true? Did you use your daughter's credit without her knowledge?" Dad looked around desperately. The investors were already pulling out their phones, probably calling their lawyers. "I can explain." "No need," I said. "The explanation is right behind you." I pointed to the sign. "This house will now serve people who've been financially abused by the people they trusted most, people like me." The crowd had grown to about 50 people, neighbors, reporters, investors, and random onlookers all pressed closer as Dad's face cycled through shades of red. "You want an explanation?" I said, my voice carrying across the lawn. "Here's your explanation." I pulled out my phone and opened the photos Blair had helped me organize. "This is the deed to this property. Notice whose name is on it." I held up the phone. "Sydney Warren. Not William Warren, not Landon Warren, just me." "Sydney, stop this right now!" Mom hissed. "This is the mortgage application," I continued, swiping to the next photo. $12 million in debt, secured by my credit, my income, my signature. But here's the interesting part. I was told it was a family investment. Trey stepped closer, squinting at my phone. "William, what is she showing us?" "It's taken out of context," Dad started. "Here's the context," I interrupted. "My parents needed someone with clean credit to hide assets from their creditors, so they lied to me, manipulated me, and put me on the hook for debt I can't afford." One of the investors, a woman in a sharp suit, spoke up. "Are you saying your father committed fraud?" "I'm saying my father used me as a human shield for his financial problems." "That's enough!" Dad roared. "You ungrateful little—" "Ungrateful?" I laughed, and it came out sharper than I intended. "Ungrateful for what? For being treated like a credit score with legs? For being ignored unless you needed something? For watching Landon get celebrated for every minor achievement while I got handed the bills?" Landon finally found his voice. "Sydney, you're embarrassing the whole family." The family embarrassed itself. I turned to face him directly. "Tell them about your gambling debts. Tell them about the investors Dad had to pay off when your last business venture collapsed. Tell them why you can't get a loan in your own name." "Shut up!" Landon snarled. "Tell them about the 3 rehab stints, the DUIs, the—" "I said shut up!" Landon lunged toward me. 2 reporters immediately stepped between us, cameras rolling. The crowd pressed closer, sensing drama. "Landon, don't!" Alea's voice cut through the chaos. She pushed through the crowd, Blair right behind her. "This is a circus," Mom said, her voice shaking. "Sydney, please, we can work this out privately." "We had 30 years to work it out privately," I said. "You chose to handle it publicly when you decided to use my name without my permission." Blair stepped forward, holding a tablet. "Actually, there's more." "Blair, don't," Dad warned. "Mr. Warren, I don't work for you anymore. I quit this morning." She turned to the crowd. "I'm a paralegal who processed these documents. What Sydney's describing is accurate. Her parents deliberately used her credit to acquire property they couldn't afford, with no intention of making her a true beneficiary." "That's privileged information," Dad shouted. "Not when it involves fraud." Blair shot back. Trey was backing away from Dad, his face pale. "William, I think we need to postpone our meeting." "No, wait." Dad reached for him, but Trey was already walking toward his car. The other investors followed, pulling out phones and talking in urgent whispers. Within minutes, the circular driveway was emptying of luxury cars. "Look what you've done!" Mom said, tears streaming down her face. "You've destroyed everything." "I destroyed nothing. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. This is our legacy," Dad said, his voice cracking. 4 generations of building this family's reputation, and you've torn it down in one morning. Your legacy was built on using people. I'm just making sure everyone knows it." "You think you're so smart," Landon said, his voice vicious. "You think you've won something, but you're still nothing. You're still the pathetic little sister who owns a $12 million house," I finished. "Who just saved herself from bankruptcy. Who just exposed your family's scam to half of Los Angeles." The reporters were scribbling furiously. Cameras clicked constantly. Someone in the crowd was live streaming on their phone. "This isn't over," Dad said, his voice low and threatening. "I'll fight this. I'll tie you up in court for years." "Well, with what money?" I asked. "Your investors just left. Your creditors are probably calling their lawyers right now. And your asset protection strategy just became public knowledge." Dr. Martinez appeared at my elbow. "Sydney, we're ready to begin operations. The first clients arrive this afternoon." "Clients?" Mom asked faintly. "Victims of financial abuse," Dr. Martinez explained. "People whose families or partners have stolen from them, manipulated them, destroyed their credit. We provide counseling, legal assistance, and safe housing while they rebuild their lives." "How fitting," Alea said quietly. Dad looked around desperately, at the reporters, the cameras, the sign on his former dream house. "Sydney, please, we can fix this. We're family." "No," I said. "Family doesn't do what you did to me. Family doesn't use each other as collateral for their mistakes." "So, what now?" Landon asked. "You just destroy us and walk away." "I don't need to destroy you. You did that yourselves." I looked at each of them. Dad with his deflated bluster, Mom with her ruined makeup, Landon with his entitled rage. "I'm just making sure everyone else knows what you really are." "And what's that?" Dad asked. "People who prey on the ones who trust them most." The crowd was dispersing, but the reporters lingered, asking for final comments. I gave them Dr. Martinez's contact information and walked toward my car. "Sydney!" Alea caught up with me. "Are you okay?" "I'm perfect." "No, really, are you okay?" I looked back at the house. My house, with its new sign gleaming in the morning sun. Staff members were already arriving, carrying boxes and setting up offices. The infinity pool sparkled in the distance, soon to become a meditation garden for people healing from betrayal. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." The lawsuit papers arrived 3 days after the confrontation. Dad was suing me for conversion of family assets and intentional interference with business relationships. I handed them to Blair, who just laughed. "He's broke and desperate," she said. "This won't go anywhere." She was right. The case was dismissed within a month when Dad couldn't afford to continue paying his lawyers. The real consequences came faster than anyone expected. Trey called me personally to apologize. "I had no idea what your father was doing. Using family members as unknowing guarantors. It's unconscionable." He paused. "If you're ever interested in legitimate investment opportunities, call me." The LA Times article went viral. Daughter turns family mansion into abuse recovery center after parents' financial deception was shared thousands of times. The story resonated with people who'd been financially manipulated by their own families. Donations poured in. Dr. Martinez called me daily with updates. "We're fully booked through next year," she told me during one of my visits to the center, "and we've had inquiries about opening similar facilities in other cities." I was sitting in what used to be Landon's bedroom, now converted into a counseling office. Through the window I could see the meditation garden where the infinity pool used to be. 3 women were doing yoga on the deck, their faces peaceful in the morning light. "How are the residents adjusting?" "They love it. Many of them have never had a safe space to process what happened to them." Dr. Martinez smiled. "You've given them something precious, proof that victims can fight back and win." My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is Marcus from Channel 7 News. We'd like to do a follow-up story on the recovery center. Are you available for an interview?" I'd done dozens of interviews in the past few weeks. Each one felt like another nail in my family's coffin, but also like another person who might be inspired to stand up for themselves. "Sydney?" Dr. Martinez was watching me. "Everything okay?" "Just another interview request." "You don't have to keep doing them, you know. You've already made your point." "Have I, though?" Before she could answer, Blair appeared in the doorway. "Sorry to interrupt, but there's someone here to see you." "Reporter?" "No, it's your cousin Alea, and she's not alone." I found Alea in the main reception area, standing next to a woman I didn't recognize. The stranger was about 40, well-dressed but nervous. "Sydney, this is Patricia," Alea said. "She saw the news coverage and wanted to meet you." Patricia stepped forward, her hands shaking slightly. "I hope you don't mind me coming here. I needed to thank you." "Thank me for what?" "For showing me it was possible." Patricia's voice was barely above a whisper. "My ex-husband did something similar to what your parents did. He put our house in my name, then used it as collateral for his business loans. When the business failed, I lost everything." "I'm sorry that happened to you." "I thought I was alone. I thought I was stupid for trusting him. But seeing your story..." She wiped her eyes. "I realized it wasn't my fault, and I realized I could fight back." "What did you do?" "I hired a lawyer. I'm suing him for fraud and emotional distress." Patricia smiled through her tears. "And I'm winning." After Patricia left, Alea and I walked through the center. The transformation was remarkable. Every room buzzed with purpose, support groups, legal consultations, financial planning sessions. "Have you heard from them?" Alea asked quietly. "Who?" "You know who." I hadn't spoken to my parents or Landon since the confrontation. According to Alea, Dad had declared bankruptcy and was facing multiple lawsuits from investors. Mom had moved in with her sister in Phoenix. Landon was living in a studio apartment in Van Nuys, working at a car dealership. "Do you miss them?" Alea asked. "I miss the family I thought I had, the one that never actually existed." "That's not an answer." I stopped walking and looked out at the ocean. The view was just as stunning as it had been during that first housewarming party. But everything else had changed. "I don't miss being used," I said finally. "I don't miss being invisible. I don't miss wondering when the next crisis would land on my doorstep. But sometimes I wonder if there was another way, a way that didn't involve destroying them." "They destroyed themselves, Sydney. You just stopped enabling it." My phone rang. "Taya. Sydney, you need to see this." Her voice was excited. "Check the news. Channel 4. I pulled up the live stream on my phone. A reporter was standing outside a courthouse downtown. In a surprising development, former real estate developer William Warren has been arrested on charges of investor fraud and money laundering. Warren, who made headlines last month when his daughter exposed his financial manipulation of family members, allegedly used a Ponzi scheme to defraud investors of over $15 million. Alea whistled low. $15 million? The house was just the beginning, I realized. They were planning to use it as collateral for even bigger schemes. You saved yourself from a lot more than bankruptcy. I saved other people too. I looked around the center at the staff helping residents rebuild their lives. All those potential investors he would have scammed. So, no regrets. I thought about Patricia, about the dozens of people who'd contacted me with similar stories, about the residents of the center who were learning to trust again. No regrets. That evening, I stood on the deck where Dad had given his speech about legacy and family unity. The meditation garden was quiet, the ocean endless beyond it. A bronze plaque by the door read, Malibu Recovery Center, founded by Sidney Warren, survivor. Blair joined me, carrying 2 cups of coffee. The final paperwork came through today, she said. The property tax exemption was approved. You're officially debt-free. And the center, fully funded for the next 5 years. Plus, 3 other cities want to replicate the model. I sipped my coffee and watched the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Somewhere in the building behind us, people were healing from betrayals that had nearly destroyed them. They were learning that survival was possible, that fighting back was an option, that victims could become victors. You know what the best part is? I said to Blair. What? They built their empire on my back, thinking I'd never be strong enough to stand up. But I didn't just stand up. I gestured toward the center, toward the sign with my name on it, toward everything I'd built from the wreckage of their schemes. I built something better on their ruins, and this time my name is on the sign,